Okay, so this is the Gemara, Daf Yomi, Avodah Zarah, Daf 19. So, at the end of 18, it says the Gemara relates an alternative homiletic interpretation of the verse discussed above. So, Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani says, and I think the verse they're speaking of is Psalms 1, verse 2, that Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani says that Rabbi Yonatan says, "Happy is the man that has not walked in the counsel of the wicked." This is referring to our forefather Abraham. We're in Daf 19 now, who did not walk in the counsel of the members of the generation of the dispersion, who were wicked, as it is stated that they said to each other, "Come, let us build a city, and a tower with its top in the heaven," Genesis 11, verse 4. A project with a wicked aim, nor stood in the way of sinners. That's Psalm 1:1. For this too is referring to Abraham, who did not join in the stand of the residents of Sodom, who were sinners, as it is stated, "Now the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners against the Lord exceedingly," Genesis 13:13. Nor sat in the seat of scornful. This means that Abraham did not sit in the seat of the Philistines because they were scorners who engaged in jest and buffoonery, as it is stated with regard to the Philistines in the latter period. And it came to pass, when their hearts were merry, that they said, "Call for Samson, that he may make us sport." Judges 16:25. The Gemara cites an interpretation of a similar verse. "Happy is the man that fears the Lord, that delights greatly in his mitzvot." That's Psalm 112, verse 1. The Gemara asks, is that to say happy is the man, but not happy is the woman? Why is it necessary for the verse to emphasize that it's speaking of a man? Rav Amram says that Rav says, the verse applies to both men and women. In his teaching, happy is one who repents when he is still a man, that is, before he becomes elderly and his strength dwindles. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says, happy is one who triumphs over his evil inclination like a man, that is, with strength and vigor. The verse continues, he delights greatly in his mitzvot. Rabbi Elazar says, a person delights in his mitzvot themselves and not on the reward for performing his mitzvot. And this is the same as we learned in a Mishnah in Avot 1:3. Antigonus of Socho would say, do not be like servants who serve the master on condition of receiving a reward. Rather be like servants who serve the master not on the condition that they receive a reward. The Gemara returns to its interpretation of the verse that was discussed previously, quote, but his delight is in the Torah of the Lord. That's Psalm 1, verse 2. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi says a person can learn Torah only from a place in the Torah that his heart desires, as it is stated, but his delight is in the Torah of the Lord. His delight is in part of the Torah that he wishes to study. The Gemara relates, Levi and Rabbi Shimon, son of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, were sitting before Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, and they were learning the Torah portion. When they finished the book that they were learning, and were ready to begin a new subject, Levi said, let them bring us the book of Proverbs. And Rabbi Shimon, son of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, said, let them bring us the book of Psalms. He compelled Levi to acquiesce, and they brought a book of Psalms. When they arrived here at the verse, but his delight is in the Torah of the Lord, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi explained the verse and said, a person can learn Torah only from a place in the Torah that his heart desires. So Levi said, my teacher, you have given us permission to rise and leave, as I wish to study Proverbs, not Psalms. Oh, man. The Gemara cites other interpretations of this verse. Rabbi Avdimi Bar Chama says, with regard to anyone who engages in the study of Torah, the Holy One, blessed be he, fulfills his desires as it is stated, but in the Torah of the Lord is his delight. If one engages in the study of Torah of the Lord, he will have his desires met by the Lord. Rava says, in accordance with the statement of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, a person should always learn Torah from a place in the Torah that his heart desires, as it is stated, but his delight is in the Torah of the Lord. And just a little note here, like if you have a bad day or like somebody said something to you that kind of puts you down and stuff like that, the best way to fix that, like literally the best way, is to go pick up the Torah and start learning. Find something that your heart desires and learn it. That is a really good way to fix it. Okay, Rava also says, with regard to this verse, initially the Torah is called by the name of the Holy One, blessed be he, but ultimately it is called by the name of the one who studies it. As it is first stated, his delight is in the Torah of the Lord. And in the continuation of the verse, it states, and in his Torah, he meditates day and night. This teaches that through study, one acquires ownership, as it were, of the Torah. And Rava says, in reference to this verse, a person must always study Torah and gain a broad knowledge of it, and only then may he analyze and delve into it. As it is stated, his delight is in the Torah of the Lord, meaning that he studies the Torah on a basic level, and only afterward does the verse state, and in his Torah he meditates, meaning he analyzes it. And Rava says, with regard to Torah study, a person should always study and review, even though he may afterward forget. And even though he does not understand, what is it saying? As it is stated with regard to the study of Torah, my soul breaks for the longing. My soul breaks for the longing that it has for your ordinances at all times. Psalms 119, verse 20. It is written, breaks, and it is not written, grinds, demonstrating that the soul is satisfied with breaking apart material on a basic level, even if it does not have the opportunity to grind and analyze in greater depth. So Rava raises a contradiction between two verses. It is written that the Torah calls the people upon the highest places of the city, Proverbs 9, verse 3. And it is written far more specifically, quote, on a seat in the high places of the city, Proverbs 9, verse 14. He explains initially, one who studies Torah does not have a secure place to sit, and therefore he is located merely upon the highest places. But ultimately, as he advances in his learning, he is placed on a seat of honor. The Gemara mentions a similar contradiction. It is written with regard to the Torah in the top of high places, Proverbs 8, verse 2, and it is written in the continuation of the verse that the Torah is by the path. This contradiction is resolved as follows. Initially, a person studies Torah in a private location in the top of high places, but ultimately he will spread his knowledge by the path in the public realm. Ula raises a contradiction with regard to the following verse. It is written, drink waters out of your own cistern, Proverbs 5, verse 15, and it is written in the continuation of the verse, and running waters out of your own well. He explains, initially, one should drink waters out of your own cistern, that is like the cistern that draws water into one location, learning all existing knowledge, and ultimately one can produce, quote, running waters out of your own well. That is an original thought and an innovative insights in Torah. The Gemara cites other statements relating to Torah study. So Rava says that Rav Sechora says that Rav Huna says, what is the meaning of that which is written? Wealth gotten through vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathers little by little shall increase. Proverbs 13, verse 11. If a person turns his Torah into many bundles, by studying large amounts in a short period of time without reviewing, his Torah will diminish. But if he gathers his knowledge little by little, by studying slowly and reviewing, his knowledge shall increase. Rava said, the sages know this, but nevertheless they transgress it. That is, they fail to heed this advice. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, I did this as I studied little by little and regularly reviewed what I had learned, and my learning has in fact endured. Rav Rav Shezvi said in the name of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, what is the meaning of that which is written? The slothful man will not roast his prey. Proverbs 12:27. The deceitful hunter, one who tricks people into believing that he has acquired vast stores of knowledge by studying new material and without reviewing that which he has already learned, will not live a long life. According to this interpretation, Yecharoch is a combination of the words Yihyeh and Ya'arich. Okay, and Rav Sheshet says that the verse means the opposite. The cunning hunter will roast his prey to prevent it from escaping. That is, he reads the verse as a rhetorical question, will not the hunter roast? When Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael to Babylonia, he said, this is comparable to a person who is hunting birds. If he breaks the wings of the first bird so that it will be unable to fly off, and he proceeds in this manner, all of his prey will remain in his possession. But if not, they will not remain in his possession, as each bird will fly off when the next is captured. In a similar fashion, a clever student reviews that which he learns to ensure that he retains his knowledge. I do want to point out, though, Rabbi Nachman of Breslev, he advises people to read as much as you can, to go for quantity and not necessarily comprehension, because eventually you will comprehend, but it's better to get the vast knowledge. So there's different aspects of how to do that, but I think if you consider the subconscious mind and you consider, everything else, I think that's a good way to go. But, the other direction of just learning little by little and reviewing it is also good, but it's good to know. It's good to know and have a vast, broad knowledge. Anyway, the Gemara returns to its interpretation of the first verses of Psalms. Quote, "And he shall be like a tree planted by streams of water," Psalms 1 verse 3. The students of the school of Rabbi Yannai say, the verse states that a Torah scholar is comparable to a tree that has been uprooted from its original location and replanted somewhere else. It does not say that he is comparable to a tree that is planted and remains in one place. It is teaching that anyone who learns Torah from one teacher alone never sees a sign of blessing, as it is necessary to acquire knowledge from many teachers. And that's actually a statement from Pirkei Avot, is that, not only acquire a teacher for yourself, but it also says to learn from every man. So, in essence, everybody should be, you're learning from everyone, so everyone is essentially your teacher in a way. So Rav Chisda said to the sages who were studying with them, "I wish to say something to you, but I'm afraid that then you will leave me and go." And what did he wish to tell them? He wanted to say that anyone who learns Torah from one teacher alone never sees a sign of blessing. When the students heard this, they did in fact leave him and went to learn from Rava. Rav Chisda said to them, That matter applies only with regard to reasoning. In order to come up with sophisticated reasoning, it is necessary to hear many different opinions. But with regard to the oral tradition itself, it is preferable to learn from one teacher so that he will not become confused by the different versions of the same statements he hears from each teacher, as he will have no clear authoritative version from one source. The Gemara continues discussing the verse cited above, by streams of water, palgei, the streams. Psalm 1 verse 3. Rabbi Tanhum bar Hanilai says, since the root pei lamed gimel can also refer to dividing, the verse is interpreted as follows. A person should always divide his years into thirds as follows: a third for Bible, a third for Mishnah, and a third for Talmud. So if you're asking yourself, we're reading the Talmud, and it's talking about the Talmud, the whole idea is that Talmud means study. And it's more of a higher level study. So, and whenever it says Bible, it's saying Mikra, which is the writings, so the general writings, so the Tanakh. Okay, the Gemara asks, how can one divide his life this way? Does a person know the length of his life, that he can calculate how much a third will be? The Gemara answers, when we said that one should divide his time into thirds, the intention was with regard to his days. That is, he should devote 1/3 of each day to Bible and Mishnah and Talmud, respectively. The Gemara discusses the continuation of the verse cited above. That brings forth its fruit in its season, whose leaf does not wither. Psalm 1 verse 3. Rava says, if one brings forth fruit in its season, that is, if he acts in accordance with the precepts of Torah that he learns, then his leaf will not wither, as the Torah will sustain him. But if one does not learn with the intention that his studies should lead to action, then with regard to both the one who is taught and with regard to one who teaches, the verse states about them, not so the wicked, but they are like the chaff that the wind drives away. Psalm 1 verse 4. Rabbi Abba says that Rav Huna says that Rav says, what is the meaning of that which is written? For she has cast down many wounded, and a mighty host are all her slain. Proverbs 7:26. This is referring to a student who has not yet reached a level where he can render legal decisions, but nevertheless he already issues decisions. He's like a fetus that emerged from the womb before its time, and the word pila also means to miscarry. A mighty host are all her slain. This is referring to a student who has reached a level where he can render legal decisions, referred to here as a mighty host. But he does not issue decisions by refraining from teaching. What he knows prevents the masses from learning Torah properly. Okay, and until when is a scholar considered too immature to render legal decisions? He's considered immature until the age of 40 years. The Gemara asks, but didn't Rava issue legal decisions before that age? And the Gemara answers, there it is permitted, as in Rava's case, they are equal. That is, if one has achieved a level of knowledge that is equivalent to that of the foremost scholar in the city, he is permitted to render decisions even before reaching the age of 40. So the Gemara cites another discussion with regard to the aforementioned verse. And whose leaf does not wither? Psalm 1 verse 3. Rav Acha bar Ada says that Rav says, and some say that it was Rav Acha bar Ada who says that Rav Hamnuna says that Rav says. One should know that even the ordinary conversation of Torah scholars require analysis, as it is stated, and whose leaf does not wither. This teaches that even when ordinary conversation of the Torah, that even the ordinary conversation of a Torah scholar, which is comparable to the leaves of a tree, has great significance like the actual fruit of the tree. The verse continues, and in whatsoever he does, he shall prosper. So Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says, this matter is written in the Torah and repeated in the prophets and stated a third time in the writings. Concerning anyone who engages in Torah study, his property dealings will be successful. It is written in the Torah, as it is written, observe therefore the words of this covenant and do them, that you may make all that you do to prosper. Deuteronomy 29 verse 8. It is repeated in the prophets, as it is written, this book of the Torah shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, that you may observe to do according to all that is written in it, and then you shall make your ways prosperous, and then shall you have good success. Joshua 1:8. It is stated a third time in the writings, as it is written, but his delight is in the Torah of the Lord, and in his Torah he meditates day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by streams of water that brings forth its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither, and whatsoever he does shall prosper. The Gemara relates that Rabbi Alexandri would proclaim in public, in the manner of a merchant selling wares, who desires life? Who desires life? Everyone gathered around him to buy from him, saying to him, give us life. He stated the following verse to them, and this connects with the Chafetz Chaim, a lesson a day that I've been going through. So if you haven't seen that, check out the playlist about guarding your speech or perfecting your speech. Who is the man that desires life and loves days of seeing good? Keep your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking guile. That's Proverbs 34:13, verse 13 through 14. The psalm continues, depart from evil and do good, seek peace and pursue it. Psalm 34:15. The Gemara explains, lest one say, I have kept my tongue from evil and my lips from speaking guile. I therefore go and indulge in sleep. To counter this possibility, the verse states, depart from evil and do good. It is not enough to avoid evil, but one must actively do good. And the word good means nothing other than Torah, as it is stated, for I have given you a good portion, my Torah, do not abandon it. Proverbs 4 verse 2. The Mishnah teaches one may build with Gentiles small platforms and bathhouses, but once he reaches the arched chamber in the bath where the Gentiles put up objects of idol worship, it is prohibited for a Jew to continue building it. Rabbi Yochanan says, if he did continue to build the arched chamber, his wages are permitted. The Gemara asks, isn't it obvious after such arched chambers are only accessories of idol worship? After all, such arched chambers are only accessories of idol worship. And with regard to accessories of idol worship, both according to Rabbi Yishmael and according to Rabbi Akiva, who disagree with regard to deriving benefit from an actual object of idol worship, deriving benefit from accessories of idol worship is not prohibited until they are worshipped. So Rabbi Yirmiyah says, Rabbi Elazar's statement is necessary only to permit the wages of a Jew who built an object of idol worship itself. The Gemara asks, this works out well according to the one who says that an object of idol worship of a Jew is forbidden immediately once it is built. But it is not prohibited to derive benefit from an object of idol worship of a Gentile until it actually worshipped. In this case, the idol was built for a Gentile, and therefore the laborer may receive payment for his work, as the idol was never worshipped. But according to one who says that an object of idol worship of a Gentile is also forbidden immediately, what can be said? Rather, Rabbi Bar Ula says, Rabbi Elazar's statement that the worker's wages are permitted is necessary only with regard to the final stroke with which the laborer completes his work. In the case of an object of idol worship that caused it to be used for idol worship, it is the completion of labor, and when the completion of labor achieved, it is achieved with the final stroke of the labor. The final stroke alone does not have the value of one peruta, and therefore the wages he receives are due when each act of labor is performed during the entire process, not when the final stroke completes the work. So evidently, Rabbi Elazar holds that the obligation to pay a wage is incurred continuously from the beginning of the period he was hired to its end, not merely upon the completion of the work. Since the worker has rights to his wages at every stage of labor performed during the entire period of work, the wages are not considered a benefit that he receives from idol worship, as the object is classified as an object of idol worship only at the very end. And one may not fashion jewelry for an object of idol worship, and this applies to jewelry such as necklaces, so kat laot, nose rings, and rings. Rabbi Eliezer says if one fashions them in exchange for payment, it is permitted. The Mishnah returns to the issue of selling items to Gentiles. One may not sell to a Gentile any item that is attached to the ground, but one may sell such an item once it is severed from the ground. So Rabbi Yehuda says it is not necessary to sever the item from the ground. Rather, one may sell it on the condition that it be severed. The Gemara asks, from where is this matter? It is that it is prohibited to sell to a Gentile anything that is attached to the ground. So Rabbi Yoshi Bar Hanina says, and that is the end of Daf 19. You have to wait for tomorrow to find out. Thanks for watching.